Hello amigos y amigas, welcome to English Made Simple. This is episode number 184, number 184, número 184. How's everybody doing? Good? Hope you guys are keeping out of mischief. And now let me welcome you properly to this show. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the regular listeners and the new listeners of the show. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Milena. But you can call me Milena from EnglishMadeSimple.net, EnglishMadeSimple.net. Right, well, today another exciting episode. So this month is all about Ielts. It's a long month, this one. And I've got another Ielts survivor today for you guys. So today we've got Carlos. He's currently in Melbourne. And he's going to tell us how he set Ielts 5 or 6 times, I don't know. And he's also going to tell us how he tried 2 different Ielts courses, I think in Melbourne. We also talk about his experience of living in Australia, what he thinks about Australia. And we also talk about his experience at work, okay? And how he's managing to work in an English-speaking environment. And we also talk about visa process, the boring process. It's a long and boring process, actually. So listen up, amigos y amigas. Carlos is going to give us tips on what helped him to finally get the score he needed for visa, okay? He's sharing quite a lot, and I hope you tune in and listen carefully. So, I begin the interview by asking Carlos to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself.
Hey Milena, hey audience of Milena. I'm Carlos, I'm from Chile, I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been living here in Melbourne around 2 years so far. I'm based in Melbourne at the moment. A bit cold, to be honest. It's winter here, but
True.
so far so good.
Excellent. Awesome. So I understand that you have done Ielts before. Can you just tell us why you had to do Ielts in the first place?
Well, every time that I hear IELTS, it's start a little bit of a headache. Yeah, IELTS. Well, I did IELTS for several reasons. First time that I came in to Australia was a requirement for my working holiday visa, I remember. That was 2013, 12. Don't recall exactly when. But yeah, that was my first encounter with IELTS. And then the second time was, actually I did it more than once. The second time that I tried was for my visa application to get the residency, which is called PR, permanent residence. So for those out there, you're going to hear this term quite often, PR.
PR, yeah, that's right. Permanent residence. So the first time you had to do IELTS was for the working holiday visa. So for that one, you have to do IELTS in Australia.
No, in Australia. I did it back in my country before applying for working holiday process. It was a requirement. To be honest, I didn't prepare much for that one because the score they asked for it is quite low. So it was quite easy to get it. So I didn't prepare much for that first attempt.
Okay, and then you had to do IELTS again from Chile?
Yes.
Because you had to do it for the PR process, which is the permanent residence.
Not only in Chile, I did it a couple of times in Australia while I was in my working holiday visa. I did it 2-3 times, I remember. I didn't get the score. But yeah, the thing is, then when I came back to my country, I had to do it 2 times. It was a stressful process. It was frustrating at the same time because I was close, and then there's some score requirements for PR. You have to get in all areas 7, especially for the visa that I was applying. That was the PR, national PR. They have different visas for Chileans. They have regional visas, permanent residencies. And the permanent residence is that one that asks you for more score. So almost getting the score that I needed. And then when I sit again the test, I got less score, and it was very, very frustrating. To be
I was
honest.
going to ask you, how many times did you do it in the end?
I don't know, like 5, 6 times. Yeah, it was actually when I got the score, I didn't think that I got the score. Actually, I thought that I failed again. But yeah, luckily I got the score, and that was my main barrier before coming to Australia. For the whole process was basically to get the score for the permanent residencies.
Yeah, that's right. So you were qualified, you're an engineer, obviously. You were on the occupation list for
That's
Australia.
another thing,
I mean, you had to go through all that process.
Yeah.
But the main obstacle for you was, getting the right score on the Ielts test. And so in the end, you did it, you said 5 or 6 times or something? And
Yeah, 5 or 6 times.
What was the most difficult discipline? Like, IELTS obviously has 4 disciplines: writing, listening, speaking, reading. What was, for you, one of the most difficult parts?
I would select 2 of them. I'm pretty good at listening because I think it's something that I've been practicing since I was a kid. Listening to English songs, I was good at listening. And reading as well, because we in Chile, my country, as engineers, we always refer to books in English. We have to read a lot in English. But the problem is we read a lot, but we don't speak. We don't pronounce those words that we read properly. And also writing, we don't write much in English, especially essays. Because, you could say, well, I can write in English, I know words. Basically because the education we received at school and high school, they kind of force, it's based on writing and reading English in English, but they don't teach you how to write a proper essay, the structure of an essay. So it's different, it's not the same. So my first attempt, I was quite confident to write essays, letters and things, but once there, when you are in the test, where you are under pressure, when you have been timed, it's not the same, guys. It's different, believe me.
Yeah, it's a high pressure environment, and
yes, you need to prepare. You need to prepare
Definitely.
for the test, definitely. So I tried everything. I remember I tried courses back in Chile. I tried courses here in Australia, Melbourne, but to be honest, and this is my personal opinion, when you sign up for those courses, they are very general, they are not personalized, and I don't know, my experience is not the best with English courses in schools, because to be honest, it's too much time you have to spend there at school, and there's not enough, it's not personalized. So basically, you don't progress much, and you end up sort of quitting the course or not learning what you were looking for.
Yeah, and how many people would be in the course with you?
One of the courses that I took back in Chile, like 6. The problem that at the time I was a little bit more advanced than the other students, so I have to level down my English to practice with them. And in Melbourne, the 2 courses that I took was 30 students, probably around 20, or I don't remember, but between 15 and 20 or 30, I don't know. But the thing there is, people go there, my experience, they went there to socialize, not to practice and learn English.
That's true.
So at the time I was about 30 years old, so I was quite serious in terms of practicing English, but I was sharing with younger people. Younger people, they are in a different mindset. They just wanted to make friends and party, and that was quite of a bad experience. Paying all that money to sign up for one of these courses, and then the problems there again, they are generalized. The teachers are they're not experienced with IELTS. Actually, it's interesting. Most of the people they go for native speakers to practice English. But the funny story, and this happens to me probably when someone asks me about Spanish, which is my native language. Some things I don't know how to explain them. So they are because this is the way that you say something.
You don't know why you say it,
Yeah,
but you just say it.
You just say it, and it's quite frustrating for someone like who's learning that a teacher answers you like that in front of everyone.
So you had a native speaker English teacher?
Yes.
Who said, "Oh well, I don't know why."
Not just me, but some questions they just answer like, "Well, it is what it is," basically. So yeah, for me it wasn't the best experience to go through courses. So that's when I decided to join online for a sort of private English coaching, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone doing IELTS? Let's say they're doing IELTS tomorrow. Your friend is doing IELTS. What would you tell them?
Tomorrow I would just tell him, pray. It's too soon.
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is too soon.
Too soon.
Let's give advice to
If you
someone.
didn't practice.
Let's give advice to someone doing the IELTS. I don't know, preparing for IELTS.
Preparing for IELTS. Well, that's a good one. Prepare. You need to prepare. You need to prepare every question.
How did you prepare?
The thing is, IELTS, they don't measure, this is my opinion, IELTS doesn't measure if you understand or not English. For me, the IELTS test, they measure skills. They are not asking you if you understand what you read. It's more like skills to apply techniques how to read. That's
Okay.
for me. That's an example. Same with listening. They are not asking you, or the type of questions are not addressing your listening abilities. They are assessing your listening skills, some skill that you should have.
So you should know how to look for specific information.
Exactly.
They're training you on spotting that information.
Yeah. Remember when we were training together, when you coached me, you taught me those tips that I've never realized that they could work, but actually they were quite helpful. And I realized then that IELTS is just about tips, just about strategies.
Strategy is the main one, yeah.
It's just about the strategies. I met people that I spoke, I remember, they had a lower level of English than me, and they got this score that they required because they practice strategies. Remember a couple of students you mentioned?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's coming back to the tips you asked me about, I would say practice, of course. I remember I was writing one essay per day. It doesn't mean that you have to be 1 year doing that. It's ridiculous. But if you practice, let's say 1 month writing everyday essays, you're going to have 30 essays. So if you have someone who provides feedback, for example, like you did, you start to improve every day with the essays. Every essay you write means an improvement.
Yeah.
And in my case, every time that I write, I improve my speaking. Because all those words, I had to repeat it in my mind constantly. And there's a technique that I remember you taught me about IELTS speaking. Basically, some parts of IELTS speaking are also, it's like writing a small essay. They have the same structure.
Yes. Introduction,
reasons, body, example, and conclusion.
Then conclusion, really. And that's why I like this.
Exactly. So don't start.
How did you find time to practice for IELTS? Because you're busy. Like as an engineer, you probably have tight deadlines. You have to you have strict work schedule, working hours. How did you manage to squeeze that practice time?
Well, it's commitment, basically. You have to book yourself time to practice. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no other way. Well, you have to quit some of your hobbies or spend less time on those with your friends. And yeah, I think if you are after moving to a different country, or you need to be committed 100%. So yeah, it's going to be probably for busy people like I was, like I am actually.
You still are busy.
Yeah, I'm still busy. You need to book at least 1 hour per day. Could be morning, afternoon, whatever you feel like. Even at lunch break, you can practice. But yeah, it's just about practice, strategies, practice and strategies. There's no other secret. This is just the funny thing about IELTS. People think that this is an English test. I mean, they are not measuring your knowledge. It's just, again, skills. You have to practice those skills and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I remember even before breakfast, I was, that was 7 a.m. I wrote an essay. I sent it to you, remember?
Yes.
Through scan it and you provide feedback. And
every day, every morning?
Every morning.
For 30
well,
days?
Not every morning. Let's say 4 or 5 days per week, 6 days per week. But yeah, it was a period that I remember I was writing a lot, essays, and I got better. Again, there's no secrets. There's no secrets here. For me, the most difficult part actually was speaking, because in my country, Chile, it's hard to find people to practice with. You can go meetups. Well, that's one way, but normally you are not going to establish conversations like
about
IELTS. And even
people.
so, if you do, when the time comes when you are in front of the examiner, it's different. You have your nerves in place. You are nervous, and
You forget
it's
words.
a little bit. Yes, you forget words, and again, you have to remember the strategies. Also, for the speaking part, you don't remember about the strategy when you speak with friends or people you met, or you speak in English. It's different. It's a bit different, but it's achievable. Of course, it's achievable. It is no. I met people that here in Australia actually. They told me they see the test 15, almost 20 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
20 times.
And if you calculate that, it's about
I don't know.
300 times
$300.
$26,000.
Wow.
It's almost the price of the visa.
Yeah, and the visa is also about $10,000. So
Well, the whole
depends.
process.
Yeah, the whole
depends
process.
what you do. And,
Depends on the visa too. But you've done it, so it can be done. You've achieved that. You've passed this huge milestone. You've got the right score. So IELTS was your main obstacle, and you've just recently come to Australia. What do
2
you
years, not so recent.
2 years. It
Yeah.
feels recent, doesn't it?
It is. It is still recent. The funny thing is, once you get to Australia and you think, oh, I got blah 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 score in this blah 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 exam, you think you speak English.
Yeah.
But once here, it's a different monster.
So could you use your IELTS skills in Australia? Like speaking
Well,
with natives?
you can, but it's not the same. Once you are at work, once you have to reply phone calls, once you have to reply emails, things are different, and you require
Different set of
coaching,
skills.
as you probably know. Yeah, it's a different set of skills, a different vocabulary, it's a different mindset. You need to apply still about strategies, as you
again, you have to learn.
discussed. But it's a first step. It's a first step. IELTS is just to get one foot in this country.
Yeah, just to help you get
Nothing
the foot in the
else.
door.
Don't believe that that's all.
So it doesn't make you a advanced speaker of English, or doesn't make you. It's
not
just.
at all. I met native speakers, English speakers, that they didn't meet the score they were looking for IELTS. So it's not about being native speakers or speaking English.
Again.
It's not about your level. It's about if you answer the questions correctly, and if you follow the strategies that, or if you comply with the skills that IELTS is looking for.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think of Australia? Now you live here. So what do you think about Australia when you compare Chile to Australia? How do you feel living in Australia?
You still have this homesickness, because it's completely different. Here is a multicultural language. Sense of humor is different at work. So you need to adapt yourself. But I'm lucky to have good people around at work. I've never felt that any sort of discrimination at all. People are quite open-minded here, and I feel quite good. Although it's challenging every day to speak English. You have to. It's a tough process, and it looks like never ending. But I think you slowly start to realize yourself you're improving.
Yeah, every day you will.
Every day, because you need to go there, speak English, understand every instruction in English. So every day is a learning process.
Yeah.
But once you're at work, I think you improve really fast.
Yeah, you're working double hard, to
Yes.
relearn
Yes,
those skills in English.
yeah. You
Sometimes
double
you
learn.
have to translate in your head as well.
Yes.
It can be mentally exhausting.
And don't get me wrong, people here they don't care if you speak English or not. Some of them they speak like you would speak back in your country.
Okay.
So they use a lot of slang. They use
At work,
they
you
speak
mean?
fast. Yeah, at work. In meeting, they speak fast, and you have to If you understand 50%, you're fine.
Yes.
But yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging.
Yeah.
Imagine you speak out in front of everyone in a meeting room.
Presenting in English?
Yeah, you always have this fear of not being a native speaker, that confidence, and you need to boost somehow. But again, it's learning.
Yeah, and doing it. Yeah, just
Go through the process.
Just go through the process. That's the only way to really see the transformation. Cool. So would you recommend your friends to come to Australia?
Not well. I'm still new in the country. Just to be honest, 2 years maybe is not enough to say. But at the moment, my experience has been quite positive. I wouldn't say achieve what I was looking for, but I think I'm on the way of getting it, which is basically have a better work-life balance. I think that's important. One of the reasons that I came here was basically that, to be in a place to work for a company, not just a company, but in general, to be in a country where you can see that people enjoy what they do, enjoy working, because they have time to do other stuff after work. Here it's not all about work. The salaries, I have to say, they are better. They allow you to do more things, to travel, to buy different stuff. So it's also safe, quite safe. Although, well, back in my country wasn't too bad. It's interesting to see that there's so many cultures here.
Many different cultures.
Yes, oh my God. So it's cool. It's a cool thing to hear about different custom cultures, make friends for other countries. Some of them have the senses of humor, others not. So, you have to be a little bit careful there. But it's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely recommendable. It's a tough process. I mean, the visa application for me was a bit slow, but I think it's persistency and being persistent, basically.
Yeah, being
and
persistent.
Practice.
And not giving up, really.
Exactly, not giving up. You have to quit some of your hobbies, some of your time, free time. But at the end of the day, for me has been an achievement to be here. And let's see how it goes in the future.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carlos, for joining us today, and thank you for talking about Ielts. And congratulations on your achievement on passing Ielts. And it's nice to talk to you today.
Well, thanks, Milena. Thanks for all your help throughout this year. Yes, guys, just keep practicing. Don't give up. And see you in Australia if you are around.
And there we go, ladies and gents. That was the chat about Ielts with Carlos. I hope you found that one interesting. I hope you found some really useful tips. Hopefully it helped you prepare for the exam if you're about to do the exam this month or maybe next month, or you're planning to do it in the near future. Okay. And as I mentioned, if you're new to the show, you might as well go back in time and listen to previous episodes. Listen to the last interview I did with Eduardo. That's in episode 182, I believe. So let's wrap up this chat with Carlos. So just to sum up what we discussed in this chat, what Carlos was doing to help him prepare for the IELTS exam, especially the writing part. What he was doing, he was writing an essay a day. So as he mentioned, he has a really busy work schedule, and he had to squeeze in some time for his IELTS practice. And the best time for him was in the morning, just before breakfast. So Carlos gave us some tips. He said, you need to prepare for IELTS, really prepare, and take it seriously. It's not something that you can start preparing in 5 days before the exam. Well, thanks for that, Carlos. That's really encouraging. He also told us that getting feedback on your speaking or writing is really important for you to start improving. Another thing that helped him with speaking, I think speaking and writing were two of the weaknesses that he had with IELTS. When he was practicing for writing part, this also helped him with speaking because he was learning new words. He was looking for synonyms in his essay. So he was using the new words that he learned from writing in his speaking. So it works well together, doesn't it? And finally, don't be frustrated with IELTS because everybody goes through the same experience, okay? All you have to remember is that you have to be 100% committed, okay? 100% committed to practice and don't give up. If you have set your eyes on coming to Australia, then don't give up. IELTS is the only obstacle that you have to, I hope IELTS is the only obstacle that you have to overcome. If you're thinking of coming to Australia, you will need to engage, I don't know, a migration agent possibly, or go to the embassy of Australia, your closest embassy, and ask for information on how you could come, okay? I could probably recommend a couple of immigration agents. So there we go, ladies and gents. That's a wrap for today. And thank you for listening to today's show. Thank you for tuning in. You've been jamming with Milena and Carlos. And you've been an amazing audience, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, hasta la próxima.